Welcome everyone to our second of 3 webinars focusing on using Foundation Cloud instead of GE Classic. My name is Amy Strom and I'm your Director of Client Success. And today you'll be hearing from Danielle Herring, our Innovation Strategy Manager. A couple of housekeeping items. We will be recording today's presentation and we'll be sending it out to all of those that have registered. Also, if you have questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. It says Q&A right on it. We have team members monitoring your questions, and we'll make some time at the end to discuss some of them. Before we dive in, let's quick review the series. This series is meant to help you prepare for the sunsetting of GE Classic, or that admin view. Our plan is to really cover all the core workflows and processes without the need to go back to the Classic view. At our first session, we walked through some of the navigational information, new paradigms, and how your team can use change management. And if you weren't able to attend, we do have that recorded. Today in session 2, we'll dig a bit deeper and cover constituents, funds, and grants, including correspondence. And session 3, that's on November 9th, will be for online grant requests, web applications, workflows, and batches. So if you think of other topics you'd like us to cover, shoot me an email or feel free to enter it in the chat. So for our agenda today, we're going to talk about the verbiage differences between Classic and Foundation Cloud and really take a deep dive into the grant, fund, and constituent records. Remember to please ask your questions along the way. Use that Q&A function in Zoom, and we will make time again at the end. With that, I'm going to pass this on to Danielle to jump into it.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you everyone for joining, for embracing change as we transition to the Foundation Cloud products. If you haven't watched the first session in the series, you can do so by accessing the NPAC Documentation Center, where you normally view your pre-recorded trainings and our knowledge base articles. You'll see the class under the webinars topic. You'll see Classic to Foundation Cloud webinar series. And we've already put the first session that Jeff did there for you to review. And Jeff covered some of the differences in general terminology between Classic and Foundation Cloud. I'll build on that by showing you verbiage changes and functionality in the grant, fund, and constituent records. Let's start with I have to introduce this handy side-by-side slide that someone in support made. It shows the Classic window on the right, and it's overlaid over the grant record in FCG. So Amy, if you'll help, if anyone is maybe challenged with color vision, I think maybe we'll want to point out in each picture where the component is that I'm talking about. So let's start with grant details, which is a tab called Grant Details in Classic and a tile called Grant Details in FCG. You can notice FCG takes it a little bit further, and since this is specified as a scholarship grant, it includes scholarship in the Grant Details tile. So you can see Grant Details in Classic. This is a scholarship grant details in the FCG window. The fund information tab in Classic is now the funds tile in FCG. The payment information is on the payments tile. The characteristics are named the same in each system, so characteristics to characteristics. Workflow is still workflow. The profile tab information is now held in the custom fields tile in FCG. Comments remain the same, comments to comments. The correspondence and media tabs are held in the correspondence tile. The information from the info tab in Classic is held in the properties tab in FCG. And in the next slide, I cover some technology difference, some of the verbiage changes not only in the record, so we've outlined them here, the differences in the record where profile is custom fields and info is properties. We also have some functional area rename changes. The web apps functional area is referred to as online apps in FCG. SQL Server or SSRS reports are now referred to as classic paginated reports. Correspondence batch is called grant batch in FCG. And we've moved the report setup utility. That is called the Fund Statement Builder. And that functionality you can find under Fund Statement Builder in FCG. And then finally, the Quick Scholarship is referred to as Scholarship Grant in FCG. And these may not be all of the differences. These are the key differences we found in what we've presented so far. But we do plan to do a knowledge base article to capture all of the verbiage changes for you. So now that we've covered a little bit of the verbiage changes in the system, let's go ahead and jump in and see it in action. And I'll still the share here so I can show you the FCG screens.
Great, we can see it, Danielle.
Okay, great. So for the grant record, we would go to Grants, Grants. And here at the top of the page, you can see that you can, oh, I have to talk about the summary information just a little bit. I know that Jeff went over the summary information and landing pages in the first webinar in the series, but each landing page, this one is for grants, has information summarizing all of the existing grant records in the system. And then we have graphical representations of unpaid grants by type and your grants by month. Along the top here, you can add a new grant project, add a new interfund transfer. And let me go ahead and I stopped my video just to save some bandwidth here. You can add a new scholarship grant. And then here is a grid of all of your existing records. So you can, I think Jeff covered the grid features here. You can rearrange your columns around. You can filter down perhaps by certain grant types. You could use the filter for that. And then you can export into a CSV file. So the detail from these records would be exported into a CSV file. To open a grant record, you can click open. And then you'll notice there are paging options here. If you have multiple pages of records, you can page between them. We also have this lookup where you can search for and drill down to a specific grant record. So in this case, we want to look for a grant record associated with clean air. And we'll go ahead and click the open button and we'll reveal the detail. You can see here that each record has a summary as well. So this is just summary information about this specific grant record. You can click edit to edit a lot of the details. And then you'll notice that some of the tiles have their own edit button. You can view Power BI reports. So these are reports associated with the grant record. And this will actually run the report so that you can view it. The expand all and collapse all is related to the tiles. So I click collapse all. That hides all the tiles. except for the names of them. And if I expand, I show them again. And just a reminder, you can change your tiles around to whatever fits your needs. You can just drag the tiles from the top. Whoops, sorry. You have to hit this guy. And then you can change your tiles around as you like. The grant details tile holds the same information you're used to seeing in the grant details tab in Classic. You have your recipient information, your report designation, and this, the grant details, you can edit it by clicking the edit button up here. The funds tile shows the fund or funds associated with the grant record. You can click add fund to add a new fund to the record. You can use the ellipsis icon to edit a fund, or if you have the rights, if the fund's not being used, you can delete it. You can use the View Payment Breakdown button to edit payments for the selected grant. And this is especially useful if there are 2 or more funds associated with the grant record. Then you would see the breakdown from each fund and then the totals here. And remember, as you're going throughout the system, the green help slider here, the help icons in any modals, these will help you drill down to some helpful content. Let's scroll down to the payments tile. The payments tile is where you view and edit payment information associated with the grant. You can view a list of payments, and if a payment has not been made, you'll see the option to edit or delete the payment using the ellipsis icon. You can set up a payment contingency, which will stop payments from being processed until a condition is met. The contingency can be based, so if we say yes here, we can make it contingent on a workflow task being completed, a previous payment being made on the grant, or you can base it on a certain date. And the last option is you can set up a manual contingency. So a manual contingency will not allow the grant to be included in a payment. And for example, you could say, don't make a payment until we get a call from the fund's financial advisor. And then that manual contingency would need to be cleared before the grant is included in a check run. Characteristics, many of you are familiar with characteristics, which are attributes that you can set up here. You can add a characteristic. And your characteristics, when you add a characteristic here, it's going to come from characteristics that are configured under Settings, Characteristics. The workflows for this grant record are managed on the Workflows tile. You can click the Edit button to make changes. You can choose the workflow template that you want. We'll keep it at Standard Grant. And you could choose to start over, delete all workflow tasks. Again, there's a help content here. You can recalculate the due dates after you've modified your workflow steps by clicking Recalculate Due Dates. And Jeff had introduced you to toast messages that you can see in the lower right hand of my screen. The green is an info, the yellow are warnings, so we can see that this is a recurring applicant. And if we were to see a red toast message, then that would be an error. Those alerts for the record are set up in the Properties tab. We'll cover a little bit more of that later, but I wanted to talk about the custom fields. This you can use to manage custom fields for your grant record. You can add a custom field, and this is going to come from a list of custom fields that have been configured for your foundation. The comments is fairly self-explanatory. That's where your internal comments about the record can be recorded. And we can do a lot with the documents tile. You can view and edit media and correspondence files associated with the grant record. The grid lists all media and correspondence files that are already attached to the record. And you can send a new correspondence. So click the new correspondence button to create a new correspondence mail merge document. The file will show up as a download in your browser. Let me go ahead and show you what that does. You can either create a document, which may be used as a letter, or you can generate an email. Let's do document. You will have configured correspondence templates. So you would choose from the templates associated with grant records. In this case, we'll choose acknowledgement letter, and then we'll hit generate. And then we get a preview of our correspondence. And this is using the HTML editor. There are a lot of great things that you can do with the HTML editor. You can print out the letter if you plan to manually mail that out. You can work with your styles and formatting and fonts. And this is a preview of what that acknowledgement letter looks like. It takes your template and it pulls in the pertinent data from the grant record to complete that letter. So any changes you want to make to the letter, you'll want to go ahead and make them here before you save. So when you save, that will be finalized. So let's show you what an email looks like really quickly. And we'll do the same acknowledgement letter, just in email form. You can also add attachments if you like. You can drag and drop them in here or click to browse to where the file is located. Again, make all of your changes here. You'll want to put in your recipients, for example. And then when you click send, the email is sent to the appropriate recipients, and then it's recorded in here. So you can see this is an interactive link for my email that I sent. And if I click this link, it brings me up a copy of that message that I had sent. Correspondence can also be generated from other record types. So as I show you funds and constituents, I'll go through that as well. If you want to add media, which would be a file or an attachment, you can click Add Media. You can drag the file here or click to browse and then save, and then that gets attached and stored in this grid as well. The Properties tab, this is where your alerts that come up every time you can have them come up when someone opens the record. Let's see what adding an alert looks like. So you can choose the record type or the record itself. So we'll choose Clean Air Task Force Action. An error is going to show in red again, warning in yellow. and green is just information. So you type in your alert message here. I'm going to go ahead and save. Oops, I needed to select warning and save. You can also view associated records. So you can view the recipient associated with this grant record, the payee, the fund, or the underlying proposal record. And the activity log shows any important transactions that occurred on this record. So here you can see that the new grant was entered earlier this month, and it shows you who the user was. Back to the top of the record, let's see what else we can do with the Actions button. You can convert to a different record type, scholarship grant, interfund transfer, project grant. You can unlink from a parent record. You can adjust the grant amounts, and you can make a copy of this record to regrant. Let's talk about the grant adjustment utility. This editor allows you to adjust the various amounts associated with this grant. Before using the utility, you should attempt to make the needed changes from the various grants records themselves. If you need to add an adjustment, it's best to do that from the Payments tile. The Summary section displays the various totals with either a green check mark, indicating that everything adds up correctly, or a red X, indicating that something does not add up. The various amounts and adjusted amounts should match that of the grant. The total adjustment should equal the grant adjusted amount minus the grant amount. If you save changes on this screen, it will create an activity log for the grant. So here, if we look at the activity, it shows grant adjusted. With those caveats about the adjustments being made to the payments, the grant adjustment utility should really only be used by your seasoned accountants who are familiar with financial information. So if anyone has questions about grants, please go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm sure I missed a couple of features there, but we covered the tiles, the summary, and all the buttons. So now let's go ahead and look at a fund record. For that, we'll go to the grants functional area under funds. So here we have the existing information for all funds on the landing page. You'll see the grid listing the existing funds. You can click open to open an existing record, or you can click the all-in-one button. So let me take you to the all-in-one fund and talk about that for a second. The all-in-one fund combines fund information from Foundation Cloud Grants, the integrated CRM system, finance system, and the Foundation Cloud Community Portal. It combines those into an at-a-glance view. The fund details from Foundation Cloud Grants and the Foundation Cloud Community Portal are real-time, and FCG sync processes update the data from the CRM system and the finance system nightly. This all-in-one fund is a powerful view because it unites information across the various integrated systems. Most of your processing and task completion can be done right from here, eliminating the need to visit and update each integrated system. You can use the integrated system icons to access the system. The Records tab shows high-level data such as fund names, fund types, and ID numbers. The tabs contain more detailed data like fund summary, which is pulled from the finance system, gift history, which is pulled from the CRM system, and grant history, which is pulled from FCG itself. The Fund Summary tab shows an online fund statement, which is very similar to the one used in the Foundation Cloud Community Portal. It's organized as a list of the fund statement line items broken down by the previous fiscal year and the current fiscal year. You can click on some of these items for a list of the transactions that make up the total. The Gifts tab is a list of the gifts for this fund, again imported from the CRM system. There's a grand total for all of the gifts and a page total with only the gifts currently shown on the screen. You can search within the list to locate a specific transactions. The fields include the gift date, the gift type, the amount, the donor, and the reference notes. The Grants tab is a list of the grants related to this fund, listed in real time from within Foundation Cloud Grants. The grant number is a link to the Foundation Cloud Grants record. And I didn't pick the best record to show you this, but there would be a list of existing grants. And maybe during the Q&A session, if anyone knows of a grant record that has the grant or gift history that someone wants to see, we'd be happy to do that. The Investment tab shows the investment portfolio for the fund, listed in real time from the Foundation Cloud Community Portal. And the Alerts tab shows alerts for this fund record and any alerts set on associated fund advisor constituent and scholarship funds. Now back to the funds landing page. We have the summary of the fund up top. The summary of the funds up top, and we see the balances. I need to open a record. This is the summary for a record itself. And let me go back into the fund that I wanted to show you. And you can search here. You can either hit enter or you can click the looking glass. So if we open this fund, now we can talk about the summary of a fund record. So on the left is a summary of key information about the fund. And on the right is where you see the fund balances, the fund asset and cash balance. The as of date here shows the last time that the record was refreshed. The last time it was synced from the integrated systems. You can click the manual refresh. That looks like a recycle icon. You can click that to run a manual refresh. And then you can see the as of date updated to today and the time to just now. The edit button here can be used to edit some of the fund details. And then again, on this record, just like the grants record, some of the tiles have their own edit buttons. You can use the View Report button to view associated reports. You can see your icons from the integrated CRM and finance system. Again, you can expand and collapse the tiles. And then this is another way to access that all-in-one fund view. The Fund Config tile contains fund balance information and aggregate data from discretionary allocations. The top portion is a read-only summary information. The bottom portion lists default accounts from the integrated finance system for the various account types. These can be edited by using the edit button on the tile. Account types are configured under Settings, business system, then you would go to Business Rules and click on the Finance tab. The Requesters tile is used to view a list of the fund advisors, associates, and donors. Click the Add Requester button to add a new requester. Remember to always add requesters to the fund they are associated with. This is how they can see the correct fund when they log into the portal. So here we can add an advisor with a constituent search. And I won't make you watch me add a requester. It's a fairly simple process. The bottom of the tile shows the default address block for acknowledgement letters sent to the constituent. You can click the Edit button to edit that address block. Characteristics, again, are the user-defined fields that are used to classify the constituent within specific categories. Characteristics are configured, again, under Settings, Characteristics. You can add, you can use the ellipses to edit or delete your characteristics. In the discretionary tile, the discretionary allocation tile shows the discretionary allocations along with aggregate data on the amounts committed, amounts spent, and amounts remaining. The list is read-only, and discretionary allocations are configured in the settings area. For grant history, let me close some of these toast messages. Use the grant history tile to view grants given from the fund. The list is read-only. The grant number will take you to, you can click on this anytime you see blue font like this. It's interactive. And you can click to take you to the specific grant payment. The investments tile is used to show the fund's investment portfolio. You can use the search functionality if you have a long list of investments to search for a particular line item. You can use the up and down arrows for sorting options. And then you can, users with the correct rights may see buttons to edit the investments, accept changes, or reject changes. The proposal history tile is used to view proposals associated with the fund. This list is read-only, and the proposal number is a link. The proposal title in this case is a link that can take you to that proposal record. The web settings tile is used to determine how the fund behaves in the community portal. You can determine if public gifts are accepted online and set gift amount values. If you choose Accept Public Gifts Online, this will allow online public gifts. The fund will be visible on the portal and available to receive public donations. Allow Public Custom Gift Amounts allows the online public custom gifts, and the donors will be able to set their own gift amount. Use Default Predefined Amounts. You can use this checkbox if you want to default. In this case, our minimum amount is $50, would be the minimum gift amount. The other web settings, you can enter a dollar amount in the minimum grant amount, in this case, $50. You can allow online vendor payment requests. If you fill this checkbox, that will allow online vendor payment requests through the portal. Predefined gift amount. The gift amounts are listed here, and you can use the, I don't see the ellipsis here. So you can't use the ellipsis there. For the documents, you can add media.
So Danielle, on that web settings tile, you've got
Yeah.
the ability to click the little editor button in the top of the tile, and you should be able to edit things there. We're using the default predefined gift amounts. Those are configured in the global settings area. And if you uncheck that, you can customize gift amounts per fund here if you need to.
Got it. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. And then the properties tile is used to view and manage alerts and to view associated records. So now we'll take a look at our last record type for today, which is constituents. And here you can see it remembered my search from last time. If I clear this search, then I'll get my full list of constituent records. The summary at the top shows you your total number of constituents. It gives you some recently accessed records. And then we have a graph of constituents by type. All right, and the grid again, you can do everything else you could do with the grids. And we'll go ahead and just zoom into a record here. I'm sorry, I forgot to show you something. The Add Constituent button is on the constituent landing page. So if you want to add a new constituent, just click that button and then click Open to open an existing constituent record. Best practice is to do all constituent record management within your integrated CRM and let it sync into FCG. The integrated CRM is queried every 10 minutes looking for modified or new records. If the record exists in FCG, it is updated with the information from CRM. If no record exists in FCG, a new one is created. It's important to note that only constituent records with constituent codes, such as grant recipient, one of these codes up here, assigned will sync to FCG. You can use the manual refresh buttons to update recipient info and payee info from the CRM and finance systems. So the CRM refresh is the orange color, the finance refresh is the green color. The recipient info tile is used to view and edit recipient info. You can click on the edit button to edit the details on this tile. A really important note for this tile, the tax ID field is used for EINs. Those are employer identification numbers. We encourage you to not enter constituent social security numbers. The contents of this field display in the portal and could pose a security risk. The payee info tile holds information about payees related to the constituent record. The contacts tile shows contact information related to the record. You can add a new contact or use the ellipsis to edit or delete an existing contact. Characteristics, we've talked about a couple times now. You can add a characteristic, or you can edit or delete existing characteristics that are set. The grant history, this one is a little bit more impressive with some good grant history. You can view the grants associated with the constituent. The grant number column is a link to the associated grant record page, and you can use the export button to export your grant history into a CSV file. Proposal history. This tile is used to view proposals associated with the constituent record. The list is read-only. The proposal title column is interactive and will take you to the underlying proposal record. The web users tile is used for constituents that represent an organization that are linked into the portal. So you can manage the individual web users using this tile. And we'll see with the ellipsis button, you can edit or delete. The documents tile, we can create new correspondence here. The charity evaluator is a tool that's used to check the constituent's EIN against the IRS database to verify 501c3 status. The status field shows if the EIN has been verified or not, and the last updated field shows the last time the verification was run on the record. You can click Run Charity Evaluator to run the tool. We'll want to go ahead and say yes to proceed. And if necessary, you can use the manually approve button to manually verify the constituent. The Properties tab is where we can view and manage alerts for the constituent record. So with that overview of the grants, funds, and constituent records, I'll turn it over to Amy to moderate our Q&A session and leave you with some more information.
Great, thanks, Danielle. I'm going to go back to sharing our document here, our presentation. We do have a couple of questions that did come up both in the chat as well as the Q&A that I think are really good ones. One of the questions that was asked was, can the correspondence documents be set to come up in Word rather than PDF? Our director of product actually did respond to that, saying currently the correspondence documents can only be edited in WYSIWYG editor and downloaded as a PDF. But our product release that they're targeting for first quarter of 2024 will have the ability to edit the documents in Word. So that was a really good one that people were asking. Another one was when it was really around the correspondence, Danielle, about will the to field automatically fill in? They were concerned that it wouldn't fill in. And Jeff so graciously answered those in the chat that yes, that will automatically fill in. It was just the record you were on that it didn't fill in. So let's see if there's any other questions that we could.
There were a couple more. One of them, Autumn asked about on the constituent landing page, there are some summary fields at the top left that give you some, some aggregate data about the records there. She was asking, where did the active donors come from? It states that there are a certain number of active donors. That is a poorly worded label. I'm going to talk to product and see. Brandon's already dropped off, see if we can change that. But essentially, that is a count of all the distinct fund records that have been used in payments that have been paid, grant payments that have been paid within the past 30 days.
Okay.
So it's really more like recently active funds, not recently active donors.
Great, thank you. I think you answered another one, Jeff, about if they needed to edit their correspondence or email templates.
Yes, someone was stating that their correspondence, whenever they do a correspondence, a mail merge, and they get the email that they want to send out, they're having trouble editing the subject field. I pointed them to where the templates are defined in the settings menu under correspondence, and each correspondence template has an email subject that you can edit there and put some static text in if you like, or you can actually use fields from whichever query is driving your mail merge. So you can have a dynamic field in your subject if you need to. So
Great.
Both of those are options. There was another question too about a data lag, right? You go to the grants landing page and it takes a long time to pull up that list of grant data. In GE Classic and the Windows application, we were able to load up a lot of data into that screen. GE Classic as a Windows application could use as much memory as it needed to. In a browser, we really stay away from loading a whole lot of data into a browser, just because, if you try to load all 50,000 of your grant records, grant history records into a browser session, you could crash Chrome pretty quickly. So We do put throttles on those where we just bring back the top, I don't know, 3,000 newest grant records into that grid. And of course, there's a button there that says load all. You can take a look at all of them. You can also use the global search feature to go in and search for an older grant record. But if you need to tweak that number, if it's still really slow, you can always increase or decrease your threshold in the global settings. Danielle, do you have the ability to share your screen again? I think it might be useful to show folks where that is. A lot of folks like to shy away from using our global settings and administrative screens, but this is a valuable one that I think would benefit the folks here who are experiencing that lag. There may be different lags on different landing pages. Maybe your proposal landing page is fine, your grants landing page is slow, your fund landing page is different. So under the settings menu at the top, we can go to the last option there that says system. And under system, I believe the third tab is business rules. And if we stay on this first tab of business rules called general and just scroll all the way to the very bottom, the last settings there are our record limits. So for each grid, how many records do you want to bring in? You can step through multiple pages. You can edit those numbers here. We recommend keeping them at their current settings. If you don't know what you're doing, don't mess with them and open a support ticket. I'm sure our support team would be more than happy to help you with this. Looks like these are alphabetized by page, so you'd probably have to jump to the second or third page to find the grants landing page. And it looks like at the bottom of page 3 there, we have the grants landing page. Our sandbox environment is set up for the first 3,000 grant records. And if that's too slow, we could always knock this down to 2,000 and just try to bring in the first 2,000 grant records, see if that speeds things up.
That's great. And this tab is also controlled by permissions.
It is. Not every one of your
everyone
users.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Not all of your users will have rights to this. If you don't have rights to it and you want to change, go ahead and open up a support ticket. Our support team would be more than happy to help you with this. If you're afraid to mess with system settings, I don't blame you. Go ahead and open a support ticket and let our team of engineers help out.
Perfect. I'm going to take the screen back. That's great. Let's move to the next section here. I really wanted to run through the timeline again. I did this with the first webinar, but we'll run through it here as well. Our timeline for sunsetting GE Classic. Really, our team has been preparing for this for the last 2 years, and we really want to ensure that you can do all of your business processes and then some with the new Foundation Cloud and the added functionality requested by you, our users. In March of this year, 2023, is when we stopped splitting our development efforts between Classic and Foundation Cloud to focus really on the growth of Foundation Cloud by no longer enhancing Classic. In March of 2024, we'll end the comprehensive support of Classic on March 1st, both hosted and on-premise instances. So please know that if you are in the process of migrating to Foundation Cloud, we will continue to support you throughout your migration. And if you are already a Foundation Cloud customer, that admin view will go away at the end of March 2024, March 31st. That's when that link goes away and the Citrix logins will be disabled. If NPACT is hosting your GE Classic and you're not moving to Foundation Cloud, we'll continue to host without support, of course, until March 1st of 2025. If you want to continue to use your on-premise instance beyond that, reach out to me and we can talk about a separate license. Sunsetting this older product really allows our team to focus on growing and enhancing our products to help you grow your business. That's our goal. And just a reminder, we've been through session 1 and session 2. Mark your calendar for November 9th. We'll be going through online grant requests, web applications, workflows, and batches. So that is the third final one. If you have additional topics you'd like us to cover, please shoot me an email or reach out to me through the chat, and we'll make a plan to get those recorded as well. That's it. I want to thank everyone for joining today and for being so interactive with us. We love that. And we'll see you all on November 9th. Thanks all.